What would you say is the smallest club in the world? It's the Perfect Parent Club. It has no members. Even families that seem perfect are really not. And as parents, we're very critical of ourselves, and this is often supported by society. It's important to look more closely at the idea of perfect parenting. There's a lot of conflicting advice about parenting, from what your grandmother says to what the experts say. And often the advice doesn't even match. Even the experts don't always agree on what is right. And even more, the advice changes over time. Today I'm going to describe a simple way to think about parenting. It's called parenting style and was first described by Diana Baumarind in 1971. Parenting style is different from parenting behavior. Parent behaviors are what parents do, scold or praise, and parenting style is how they do it, with warmth or hostility. Now think about two thermometers. One is called the warmth thermometer, and the other is the limits thermometer. As parents, we each have a score on each thermometer. And let's take a moment to look at this. First, let's look at the warmth thermometer. This refers to how warm and nurturing and responsive you are as a parent. Where do you think you'd score on this? Just give yourself a number from 1 to 10. And now let's look at the limits thermometer. The level of limits refers to the degree to which parents manage their children's behavior, from firm boundaries and limits to setting very few rules and demands. Where do you think you'd score on this one? Give yourself a number from 1 to 10. Now, if you scored over 5 on both thermometers, you're on the right track. I'll show an example of what this may look like. Imagine your child came home from school and had been given an in-school detention for bad behavior. Which one would you choose? 1, tell him to go to his room right away. You do not tolerate bad behavior. 2, think the punishment should fit the crime, so ask what happened to determine if there needs to be consequences at home as well. 3, hug and reassure your child. Question the school about what happened and demand that you be consulted before they punish your child again. Or 4, think, well, the school handled it, so it's nothing for me to be concerned about. Some parents score high on the warmth thermometer, but low on the limits thermometer. This is called permissive or jellyfish parenting. Sometimes these parents can seem more like friends to their children than parents. And kids who grow up in these houses are loved very much, but don't have many rules or consequences for their behavior. Their motto may be, "My child is so wonderful, he can do no wrong." Some parents score low on warmth and high on limits. And this is called authoritarian or brick wall parenting. It's pretty cold and unmovable. Their motto may be, "Children should be seen and not heard." Other parents score low on warmth and low on limits. And these parents are rare, but show little warmth or responsiveness and have very few rules or expectations. This is called neglectful parenting. And children in these families feel like a ghost as they think they can't be seen or heard. And the last group of parents score high on warmth and high on limits. They are nurturing and responsive to their child's needs. However, they don't believe that the child is perfect or always right. And the goal for these parents is to help their children learn appropriate behavior so that they can someday become independent and responsible adults. This is called authoritative or backbone parenting. These parents are flexible and responsive, but strong. Let's go back to the example of the child with detention. A brick wall parent would not be interested in the child's point of view. He would have strict rules for behavior and may send the child straight to his room. A jellyfish parent would immediately support the child and tell them that they will go to the school to make sure the school never does that again. A neglectful parent would not care much about what happened in the first place and will just not get involved. The backbone parent will respond to the situation by asking the child what happened. If he got into trouble for being too loud at lunchtime, then the parent would most likely feel that the school punishment was sufficient to help him learn a lesson. If the child got into trouble for hitting another child, the backbone parent may require him to make amends to the child that was hurt before he's permitted to have privileges at home. What does backbone parenting look like? Having fun together regularly. Having rules. Remember that you can be kind and firm at the same time. Be consistent and follow through on what you say. Try to set realistic consequences. However, be flexible when appropriate. You aren't really going to ground your child for 36 years. Talking with and listening to your kids daily. Don't interrupt them when they're speaking. Encourage them to think for themselves and allow them to make age-appropriate choices. Stress empathy and facilitate your child's development to reach their potential. There's no one way to be a good parent. Kids will do well as long as their parents are good enough parents. There's a lot of leeway in this. There's not a perfect line down the middle. There's a good enough zone where kids do just fine. What does all this mean? The difference between all the parenting styles is level of warmth and level of limits. Being a backbone parent means being high on warmth and high on limits. And remember, you don't have to be perfect to be a good parent.